In the Impact segment tonight, President Obama getting political during his final address to the United Nations General Assembly. The president used the occasion to take some not-so-subtle shots at Donald Trump.
Today, a nation ringed by walls would only imprison itself. But there appears to be a growing contest between authoritarianism and liberalism right now. And I want everybody to understand, I am not neutral in that contest. I believe in a liberal political order. It's no surprise that some argue the future favors the strong man, a top-down model, rather than strong democratic institutions.
Joining us now with reaction from Williamsburg, Virginia, Republican vice presidential nominee Mike Pence. Governor Pence, thanks for being here.
You bet, Brett.
Well, the president didn't say Donald Trump's name, but he clearly was talking about him there. Your reaction to that speech?
Well, the president's speech before the United Nations, again, not just being critical of Donald Trump, but again, criticizing people in this country that take a different view on a range of issues, particularly border security, on the foreign stage at the United Nations. It's pretty typical for this president. Throughout his presidency, he's been willing to be critical of the American people and on the foreign stage, and I think that's unfortunate. The quote that I prefer comes from Ronald Reagan, who said, "A nation without borders is not a nation." And even when Donald Trump visited Mexico City and sat down with President Peña Nieto, they both agreed on the sovereign right of every nation to maintain its borders and to have border security. And when Donald Trump talks about building a wall and reestablishing the southern border of this country strongly, enforcing our laws, reforming our immigration system, that's what he's talking about. And it's not about isolating the United States from the world. It's really about ensuring the security of this nation, and that we're a nation that can uphold our laws.
I heard you talk today about the investigation into Rahami in the New York, New Jersey bombings. Do you think the FBI dropped the ball there?
Well, it's really hard to know. I think we just have to follow the facts in this case. It was obviously we were all shocked this weekend when we heard word of bombs going off in New Jersey and New York. Leave aside the terrorist attack that took place in Minnesota. I give law enforcement a lot of credit for less than 24 hours apprehending Mr. Rahami, but to find out that his father had reported to the FBI several years ago that he thought his son was a terrorist, and his son was apparently not put on a terrorist watch list and not given more additional attention is really it's really frustrating.
Governor, you look at the polls around the country, and there are a lot of states that are very close, some within the margin of error. Right. You look at the Electoral College map, and you know this. Any expert you talk to says Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine have more paths to 270, the number of electoral votes needed to win. What is your strategy as a team, and where are you focused?
Well, we're just going to continue to draw a contrast in this campaign, Brett. 7.5 years of the leadership of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, which Hillary Clinton wants to continue at home and abroad, it has weakened America's place in the world and stifled America's economy. Donald Trump and I have a message to make America great again by rebuilding our military, restoring the arsenal of democracy, restoring relationships with our allies, hunting down and destroying those who inspire violence against our people or bring violence against our allies and against our nation. And here at home, instead of raising taxes as Hillary Clinton would have us do, Donald Trump and I will cut taxes, release American energy, repeal Obamacare. That contrast and that choice is what's drawing more and more people. A close race here in Virginia, according to the most recent polls. All over the country, we're seeing more and more Republicans, independents, and many Democrats rallying to our cause because they know we can be stronger, they know we can be more prosperous, and they know in this election that'll take electing Donald Trump as our next president.
Governor, I want to ask you quickly about something you said this weekend. Take a listen.
I frankly hold Dick Cheney in very high regard in his role as vice president and as an American
leader. That's the kind of vice president you'd want to be?
Well, I think a very active vice president. Vice President Cheney had experience in the Congress, as I do, and he was very active in working with members of the House and the Senate.
Yeah, that's what you said on ABC, Governor Pence. Vice President Cheney arguably was the strongest vice president in our history. Is that what you're looking to be?
No, you know, I was asked the question on the tarmac on the way out to a campaign event, and you know, I had the privilege of working with Vice President Cheney when I was in Republican leadership on Capitol Hill, and the analogy that I saw there, that frankly I see from our last 3 Republican vice presidents, is that I hope I'll be able to bring to our new president the experience that I've had, the relationships that I have on Capitol Hill, to help turn this country around. I mean, Donald Trump's got a vision for America of rebuilding our military, restoring strength, and reviving our economy through the same principles that Ronald Reagan advanced in the 1980s, President Kennedy advanced in the 1960s, having the constitutional conservatives appointed to the Supreme Court of the United States.
You know, Governor,
my hope is, like our last 3 vice presidents, that I'll be able to work closely with our new president and with leaders in Congress to take his vision and turn it into practical policy that he'll be able to sign and really make America great again.
You know that Mr. Trump has said some aggressive things about Vice President Cheney in the past, including on this show, about getting into the war in Iraq and about his role as in that administration.
Well, look, I hold Vice President Cheney as an American and for his service to this country in a variety of capacities in high regard. But I would just tell you, I think the last 3 Republican vice presidents, who I've had a privilege to know individually, have all served their presidents well. And my ambition, if I have this great privilege, Brett, is to take Donald Trump's vision to make America great again, and to call on those relationships that I have with members of Congress and, frankly, with governors around the country, translate that into the kind of policy that will really result in a stronger America at home and abroad.
And last thing, very quickly, a former vice president who became president, George H.W. Bush, reportedly is not voting for your ticket. Your reaction? Well, again, his service in uniform, his long service to this country, his service as our 41st president, I hold President Bush in the highest regard, and I respect his opinion, but I respectfully and strongly disagree. You know, I'll step out from here in this room and go out to a rally here in Williamsburg, Virginia, and stand in front of people who know we've got to make change in this country, who know we can make America great again, and Hillary Clinton, who's determined to continue the very policies that have weakened America on the world stage, have stifled America's economy, have walked away from the constitutional principles of the foundation of our judicial system, is just simply the wrong choice. So I'll respect the right of everyone in my party and everyone in this country to make their own choice. But for me and for more and more Americans every day, Republicans, Democrats, and independents, Donald Trump is the right choice, and when we make him president, we'll make America great again. Governor Pence, we thank you for your time. We'll see you down the trail.
Thanks, Brett.